everyone. Welcome to our joint web event of UNICA and of SGroup, Universities in Europe. We are very happy that you signed up in such a substantial quantity. We talk about alumni relations today. You can see the title again, Global Alumni Relations and Models of Alumni Services and Engagement as a Strategic Task of Higher Education Institutions. We find this a very important strategic topic for higher education institutions as well as for university networks, and that is why we have chosen this topic today. If you have not done so yet, please indicate, rename yourself in the participants column so that we know who you are, and please write your questions in the chat, and our team will collect them, and the speakers will then respond during the final discussion. And one more housekeeping remark, this web event is being recorded for internal purposes only. And maybe very briefly, I hand over to my dear colleague Luciano from UNICA. Maybe I'm sure he wants to say also a few words of welcome.
Yes, with pleasure, Arnim. Hello to everyone. A very warm welcome from me. I'm Luciano Saso. I'm the president of UNICA. It is a great pleasure to join forces with the SGroup today for this important webinar on a topic that is very close to our heart. UNICA has been engaged already on this topic a few times. We want to do more actually in the future on this because we feel that it is a strategic element in our universities. In my view, first of all, as an indicator of quality of universities. Very often we speak about indicators, we speak about rankings and other measures, but I think that alumni relations is a very concrete indicator of quality, because if we manage to keep in touch with students and doctoral candidates who finish their studies at our universities, and then after many years they are willing to keep in touch, maybe to contribute or to give back to our universities, I think this is the best sign of the quality of what we did and the kind of relationship that we managed to establish with them. So I think you share with me this idea that this is again is an important theme to be discussed, and is also a good idea to join forces between different networks, different universities with different views, to try to have a very good discussion today. So today we have a very rich panel of colleagues who will share their views. The discussion will take place at the end of all presentations, so we kindly ask you to ask questions in the chat, because after all presentations we will open the discussion. Now I hand over again to Arnim for the presentation of the first speaker.
Yes, thank you very much, Luciano. And again, my name is Arnim Heinemann. I'm the president of SGroup, Universities in Europe, and also SGroup has been very active in the alumni context, and I completely agree with what Luciano has said about the importance, and I think it is also an expression and proof of the sustainable engagement of universities if we have a successful global alumni network activities. Today, we are very grateful to have speakers from several institutions that are members of SGroup and UNICA. And we have first Thorsten Parchent from the University of Bayreuth. He will be followed by Carole Picavet from Ghent University, followed by Bárbara Costa from the University of Porto, then Athena Frango-Selipa from the University of Cyprus, Zala Zimcic from the University of Ljubljana, Sonia Moulineux from the University of Edinburgh, and then we will enter the discussion. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to Thorsten. He's the head of Welcome and Alumni Services at the University of Bayreuth in Bavaria in Germany. Please, Thorsten, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome from the University of Bayreuth. Maybe the next slide. In this first presentation of today, I want to talk about ideas to engage international alumni in different fields and functions. At the beginning, I want to specifically focus on international research alumni and their various functions and how they can act as local ambassadors of their often not just one alma mater. I want to demonstrate how international alumni can be a strategic tool in order to build up alumni contact points, cluster centers, and gateway offices to foster a long-term internationalization strategy. And in the last point, I want to focus on the challenge of building up structures and support for refugees, refugee students, and threatened researchers at our institution or at institutions in general, and how international alumni can contribute to this goal. The next slide, maybe. If you think in general about the role of international research alumni, we should always have the two perspectives in mind and think about a win-win situation as an outcome. You provide junior and senior fellows access to your global university network and its multiple opportunities, and in reward, you also gain access to the various networks of the research alumni, as I said, as they are having not only one alma mater. This can be used to build up new cooperations and support to define strategic regions and destinations, which in the end foster the institution's overall internationalization goals. Research alumni may also be helpful to start international joint master programs or co-tutels, and research alumni should also be considered to play an active role in multinational project applications, as they often feel affiliated to the old and their new institution likewise. Now, talking about the perspective of the international research alumni, what do they then expect from an alumni relationship with their old alma mater? Apart from being part of the multiple networks that universities provide, they might be interested in getting access to national and international funding opportunities and funding organizations, getting access also to mobility opportunities, reconnect with researchers and departments from their old institution, or go on or follow up with existing research projects or start new ones. They might also be interested to use the alma mater as a hub to get further access to a regional research area. If they work at the interface between research and industries, they can offer access to valuable internships for students or PhD students. Maybe the next slide. This might also be a gate opener for new projects and third-party funding applications where industries are involved. Keeping in mind that international research alumni are often very mobile, this opens a bunch of multiple opportunities for every higher education institution. Therefore, it is even more important to get alumni involved, affiliated, and emotionally embedded with and in your institution. Now, as my first headline was further the global Bayreuth identity, this concept has been developed together with our international research alumni. If you think about building up a global alumni community, you have to make the alumni feel being part of a family, a global and growing global family, which is affiliated emotionally and in terms of shared interests with your institution. Our research alumni created this term during a homecoming event at our university some years ago. And it has now become, so to say, a frame of our concept on internationalization involving our alumni and friends. To explain the second term, As a rather young university with an enlarging international alumni community, we understand our idea of alumni as a very open one, to make sure to invite everybody who is willing to cooperate with us and getting involved in shared projects. Therefore, we consider everyone who stayed for a short or a long period at our university as an alumni and try to add them to our database and newsletters in order to stay in contact. The friends are not alumni of our institution, but they serve in the same functions. Friends got involved in our international projects at some stage and are considered as full members of the global Bayreuth community with all its benefits, of course. And let me give some examples how our alumni and friends contributed to and contribute to the goals of the University of Bayreuth. One participant of our summer school for intercultural German studies who took part several years in a row and worked for the German company Bosch in Madrid provided the university several internships throughout the years. An alumna of our Master of Business Administration who worked for BMW in Brazil and works now in Munich is acting as a mentor for our alumni job mentoring program, which will be later explained. And with a regular visiting professor from the US who got involved in our Bayreuth International Summer School first, we developed together and started a bachelor double degree for both institutions. As I pointed out earlier, we wanted to use our approach to international research alumni to foster our internationalization strategy. We had this clear and sustainable goal in mind when we successfully participated in the Alexander von Humboldt project application on international research work 2011. Maybe the next slide. We established the Bayreuth International Alumni Center to offer important tools for our alumni, like a database, regular newsletters, and the organization of regular research alumni events. The Bayreuth International Alumni Center also works as a hub for our alumni contact points, which we defined and started to build up since then at strategic destinations or 4 strategic regions. Alumni contact points are defined as regional hubs to reconnect with the University of Bayreuth. With the support of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, we organized during the last 10 years several events for our international research alumni in their specific regions at our local alumni contact points. Our science-related events were organized together with the coordinators of those centers, and engaging those coordinators who are alumni and friends in terms of content and in terms of participants helped and helps us to understand the needs of the alumni and to develop, shape, and improve, of course, our program. As a result, the later events provided a mix of science-related content involving local partner universities, but also German companies and research institutions located in the country to provide direct access to the local and international labor market or internships. Having our alumni and partner institutions directly involved in the format fosters their commitment and contributes to the idea of a global Bayreuth identity. As some of those alumni contact points got due to our internationalization strategy, then defined as our gateway offices, which work as global hubs for the region, those events supported this path. This is also true for starting and establishing our Africa cluster centers, which represent the main partner institutions of our cluster of excellence, Africa Multiple, honored by the German government. Maybe the next slide. Here you can see different alumni contact points, for example, in Bordeaux, Yaoundé, Maseno, Shanghai, Melbourne, Boston, Florianopolis, Bogota, and some of them, as is explained, transformed into our hubs and gateway office, which is Shanghai, Melbourne, Bordeaux, and we are working on Boston, and we get support from our alumni, especially in the last one. And the gateway officer, to give another example, in Shanghai is likewise an alumna of our university, and the CISO in Shanghai, where the office is also located on the campus. One of our alumni friends who supported us throughout our 3 alumni events on the ground in Kenya supported our application process of the Africa Multiple project and helped together with our alumni to establish the Africa Cluster Center in Kenya, in Maseno, which you can see on the map, at her home university. And then the next slide. For my last point, I want to draw the attention on engagement of international alumni with the challenging support of refugees. And when I mean refugees, I'm talking mainly about student refugees and threatened researchers. We started to set up programs to support and help refugees to enter the university in 2015. And that time we had no experience with such formats or alumni programs, and to support these programs together with our alumni, we shaped and improved, but also the alumni identified the needs of those specific target groups. So to say, refugee student alumni gave us access to the refugee networks and helped us to develop and start new projects in that frame for supporting refugee students and also refugee academics. As we also host threatened researchers through the Philipp Schwarz Initiative project by the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, this is also true for getting access to their very sensitive networks. This enables us to make our offers for those specific target groups visible on a regional, national, and also global level. These alumni also connect us directly with individuals and provide us with best practice for different challenges in regards of need and support in terms of trauma awareness and resettling, funding opportunities, and entering the academic and non-academic labor market. Especially with these groups, there's a lot of knowledge transfer from the alumni community towards our institutions. And I want to highlight one specific program, which is part of a project we started just last year, and which is funded by the DAD as part of their support programs for refugees. It is called Profi in Mint, and its goal is to enable academics with a refugee background to enter the regional and national labor market, to develop our academic certificate modules, and to promote the program. We specifically hired 2 student assistants who previously participated in one of those support programs for refugees, and in that case, not particularly at our university, and they are now studying as regular students in a master program at our university. As one main tool of giving access to the labor market, we also developed and set up an alumni job mentoring program. This program brings together mentors and mentees in order to give face-to-face consultation on entering the regional labor market through the perspective of experts. Some of our mentors are alumni of support programs for refugees, but some of them are our international alumni as well. Both groups share their unique experience and they enable direct knowledge transfer. The third group, which acts as mentors, are usually German alumni, or to use the term alumni friends, alumni from other institutions. Both alumni groups are committed to our program and contribute as such in the term of alumni and friends. To sum up, by getting our international alumni active and engaged, we built up a shared global identity to foster internationalization strategy goals and to make everybody feel part of a global university family. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thorsten, and also thank you for keeping the time. Thank you also for the question, Andy, in the chat. We will come back to that in the discussion later. And without further ado, to give all speakers the full time of presentation, I would like to hand over now to Carole from Ghent University, Carole Picavet, who is a policy advisor and international alumni relations, and she's speaking to us about the institutional support for international alumni chapters, which is a challenge I think that we all know. Please, Carole, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So my name is Carole, and I will present you some ideas that we developed at Ghent University to support our worldwide alumni chapters. Maybe a first aspect, an important aspect, is that your general alumni policy plan is embedded throughout the institution. So this is very important because alumni work is connected with so many other departments like career centers, recruitment services, communications and marketing, fundraising, and so on. So this is why at Ghent University, our alumni policy is one of the university-wide policy choices for the coming years. And so this is really a very big added value for us. And when we are talking about international alumni, then also our alumni policy plan is part of the integrated policy plan for internationalization. So this is very important, of course. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here you can find a map where we have all the alumni chapters that we organized since several years at Ghent University. And when we are talking about international alumni, then we mean our foreign alumni, but also our Flemish alumni abroad. And to keep connection with them, they are united in international chapters established in different regions of the world. The criteria to launch a chapter in some countries, regions, is based on several aspects: number of alumni, number of corporations, funding programs, and so on. So these chapters create opportunities for alumni to connect with each other, and they also constitute a direct link with Ghent University. As such, they create an added value and support Ghent University in strengthening its global network. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so our first alumni chapter was in 2013, so in 2013 in China. Now we have more chapters around the world, but of course, they mean a lot for us. So, but also we received several times the same question. Yes, okay, we want to do something for Ghent University, but yes, what do you need from us? And of course, one important thing is, yeah, they also need our support to realize their goals. So this is one of the first things that we have created, is namely, we realized a manual, so guidelines for the different chapters. In this manual, we have 3 parts. So it's establishing your chapter, operating your chapter, and growing your chapter. And now I will give you some practical things that we have, let's say, realized in the different aspects of the manual. So the first one is the formation. So when we are talking about establishing your chapter, then you have the formation of an executive committee. So where can we help them? So each year we organize a call for applications among the new graduates who wants to be part of an existing chapter. So there we help them, so to see if maybe we have other candidates who are willing to help a chapter. Then also a very practical thing is we offer business cards from Ghent University to our alumni representatives, so that they really have the feeling that they are part of the Ghent University community. So, because don't forget, those representatives are doing all this work on a voluntary basis. So it's very important that they have this connection with Ghent University. And a third thing which is also very important, is that we offer them a Ghent University email account. So it's the same account that they have received when they were a PhD student or a master student at Ghent University, with all the same advantages. So these are some practical examples in this first part of the manual. Then we have operating the chapter. There we included a list of possible events. We also help them to organize. We offer them different tools. So the alumni relations manager must assist in all these activities, for example, promotion. We also organize regional meetings with them to inform them what's happening at the university. And we also plan in the future, once a year, a general meeting with all the alumni ambassadors so that they can exchange ideas for future activities. At this moment, and this I think is a very important thing for the alumni chapters, we are working on a system where we can get an overview of the professor, to have an overview when and who of the professors are traveling abroad, so that during their visit they can give a guest lecture organized together with the alumni representatives. So this is also that we help them in organizing several activities and offer them our support where we can, of course. A second thing is then growing your chapter. So, of course, the most important thing is that, the chapter, that the number of members is increasing. So on a regular basis, we organize mailings. We bring them in contact also with external and internal stakeholders. For example, external, then I mean embassies, for example, because they also have a big overview of contact details from alumni. Also, for example, in Belgium, you have Flanders Investment and Trade, an external and official organization. We also have a big network, and we also try to bring them in contact with all these different stakeholders. Next slide, please. Okay. Then, and of course, one of the biggest tools that we offer or that we introduced recently is our online platform, Infinitum. There it's to bring each alumni in contact with each other, to bring them also in contact with members of the faculties, central organization, and so on. So it really, it helps them to see how many alumni are there in their region. In fact, it's just one click on the button and you can see in this region we have those alumni. They can make promotion for their activities. So it's really a big asset for Ghent University that we now have this online platform, because in the past we were working with several Excel lists centrally on faculty level, and now we have one system. Each alumni registers in this system, and here you can see. So now at this moment we have one general alumni abroad page, which is the collection of all the alumni abroad. But in the future we plan also, to give each chapter his own page. So they will be responsible to publish things, to bring news from the chapter. But at this moment, it's one general page. So we hope to introduce this in the near future. Next slide, please. And then, of course, besides this database, of course, we offer them a Toolkit Communication. So, for example, we offer at each chapter a shared mailbox, which is very useful also for branding. So for each chapter, it's always alumni. And then with the country at @ugent.be. We made some logos. It's the same logo also for each chapter. So when you're doing some, when you're sending mailings and so on, it's very, you recognize it's also for the branding. It's very positive. And then, of course, we produce 6 times a year a newsletter where we also make big publicity for all the chapters. So where we, make publications of their activities. Also where we publish news from the alma mater, where they can maybe make some connections and so on. So this is also very important for them. Once a year, at this moment now, we have a Dutch magazine. And we will make one in English just once a year as a kind of gift, where we also will put the chapters in the spotlight. And of course, a very important aspect is finances, so that we have to provide them funding. So each year we ask them to make a regional plan and to say, okay, these are so many activities. how much budget do you need for this, and so that we can divide, let's say, the total budget among the different chapters. Of course, when we were talking about challenges, one thing what we realized is that each chapter is different, so has a different approach, different goals. So it's continuously a work in progress. But one thing is sure, our ambassadors donate thousands of hours of their valuable time every year, so we have to provide them the necessary support from the alma mater. Okay, thank you. So, voilà.
Thank you very much, Carole, for this very interesting and stimulating presentation. And thank you also for keeping the time. We will come back to questions later in the discussion. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to our next speaker, to Bárbara Costa from the University of Porto, Director of Alumni Network and the Circolo of the University of Porto. And she will speak to us about the Mobile Student Ambassadors strategy that the University of Porto is developing. Please, Bárbara, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Arnim. Hi, everyone, from a very cloudy Porto today. So today I will show you and I will present to you a new program that we have developed here at the University of Porto, also to assist in the internationalization process, of course, that is to involve the exchange, the mobile students in the process of becoming an ambassador of the university. Next slide, please, Joanna. So, first, we started by having a look at the meaning of the word alumni according to our glossary. And it is stated that every student who has enrolled in courses or study cycles of the University of Porto and that has obtained a formal degree, being a graduate, a master, a doctor, can be considered as an alumni. Or those cases where a student has a diploma of a postgraduate level with a minimum of 30 ECTS credits. This is okay, this is perfect, and this is still the definition within our academic glossary. But although this information is quite accurate, the fact is that it is considered to be a little bit, let's say, too narrow, to grab the real dimension of the University of Porto's true potential. And so, next slide, please. We started brainstorming within our university before the pandemic started, of course, on how to reinforce the alumni ambassadors and also having these ambassadors contributing to the internationalization strategy of our university. And first, we started to think about the tasks, the duties, and also the roles of an alumni ambassador. Next slide, please. And we've seen that one of the tasks is to build a bridge between Porto and local communities to enhance the acknowledgement of the university in the country city where they live, study, or work, and also between Porto and companies that can generate new employment opportunities. For instance, the recruitment of graduates, internships, and so on. And also within the tasks and roles of an ambassador, an alumni ambassador, we identified as an interesting aspect also to design, organize, disseminate, and participate in events like alumni meetings, student recruitment fairs, networking events, and we have seen that both Bayreuth and Ghent have also the same type of activities within their own institutions. Next slide, please. Also in terms of communication, we ask the ambassadors to establish and promote a network of contacts with other alumni, with other international exchange students and also researchers to really support, let's say, the idea of the University of Porto being present in several countries, in several regions in the world. And also to become a contact point for the welcoming and the integration of new students and graduates, to develop a mentorship network to support the integration of recently graduate students into the labor market and promote job or internship opportunities, and also to be active in social media to share updated and relevant information about the University of Porto, its activities, and to support the academic and research opportunities that the university has to offer. And in this regard, we really understood the potential and the benefits of the LinkedIn. And to ease this, LinkedIn training course was already provided in English and Portuguese, and we are also considering further training in this regard. Following slide, please, Joanna. So we started to connect the dots, and we started to wonder, what if mobility, so exchange students, can also contribute to strengthen even further the presence of the University of Porto worldwide? And with the help of the International Office of the University of Porto, we looked at the state of the art. So how many agreements we had, the outgoing mobility, the incoming mobility. Of course, these numbers are before the pandemic arrived, although I'm sure, and Luisa, the mobility coordinator that is joining us later on, can also speak a little bit about this. But the fact is that we notice here a huge opportunity in terms of reaching different regions throughout the world. Next slide, please. So Porto is a very well-known institution in Latin America, in Portuguese-speaking countries, in Africa and Pacific. I also dare to say also in Europe. And of course, this means that a very significant number of students coming from these places arrive in Porto every year for an exchange period. So the International Office has an accurate and up-to-date data on all these students, and considering the international dimension, the prestige that the university already has, and these numbers, we found an opportunity here that we wanted to really take on. Next slide, please. So the Exchange Ambassador Project, the objective is to capitalize the investment that every year the university has when welcoming the international exchange students, the mobile students. And also, as I mentioned, to strengthen our presence in the world and to reinforce the recruitment of international students for our degrees. Next slide, please. So this year, in January 2021, we finally launched the program. My colleague Albino, that is also joining us, he is leading the implementation of the program within the University of Porto. And in this first and pilot project, we had more than 1,000 applicants showing their interest in joining us in this new adventure. So in just a few months, the results are absolutely remarkable. And you can see the areas, the academic areas, the fields of study, so diverse that at the end, people really wanted to participate in such a program. Next slide, please, Joanna. So this is a map that it's online. You can just click on the link. You can see on the bottom right of the slide. And here you can see the distribution of our exchange alumni ambassadors. We started with 50 as a pilot phase, and we are already thinking of expanding it, of course, within the next few months. Next slide, please. What's in it for them? Of course, this is a major question. Recognition and visibility. So the involvement in the program brings references in the media and within the dissemination network of the university. Also development of new organizational and social skills. And this, of course, has benefits within their curricula. The extension of the network of personal contacts and the strengthening of networking capacity, and the sharing of ideas and best practices through the contact with other ambassadors. Next slide, please. So, following steps. We are about, of course, to assess this. After 1 year, we will conduct an assessment. We will collect and analyze the data, assess the impact, and of course, as those who know me, there is always room for improvement. So we will look for new improvements to kick off this not as a pilot project, but as a full program. So this is my last slide. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara, for this excellent presentation. We move on to the next speaker, who is Atina Frango-Selipa from the Development and Alumni Relations Office of the University of Cyprus, and she will give a talk on engaging alumni through social media. Please, Atina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Saso. Hi, everyone from the University of Cyprus and the beautiful island. I will showcase my university today, discussing digital alumni engagement with emphasis on social media. Next slide, please. Let's move on. We know what we're going to be covered, so we'll go through straight to it. So here you can have a look at our milestones, the milestones of the university and the data office. You can see we've grown dynamically since our establishment. So today we are a university with a vibrant community of 28,000 alumni in 50 countries, 8,000 students, and 1,000 staff members. The data mission office is very important, and it is the creation of a lifelong community of a lifelong alumni community through the provision of information, services, and opportunities for meaningful participation and engagement, which will contribute eventually to the vision of our university, which is to become a leading institution of cultural enterprise, an outstanding contributor to the society, and definitely a reference point for the global scientific community. Next slide, please. Here you can see the organizational chart of our rectorate of this unit, and the data office is a key unit, a key office in this unit. Our role is to serve everyone who has a relationship with the university while encouraging them all, of course, mainly the university, to active engagement in our activities. Next slide, please. Here you can see that for us as a university, the alumni comprise the most important stakeholder group for our future. So we have built, let's say, an ecosystem of relationships between the data office and the other units, meaning eventually the alumni and the other stakeholders. So data role demonstrates a value for strategic partnerships across campus, across the university, operationally with all units that both create opportunities for meaningful alumni engagement. Next slide, please. These are the main key services provided by Data Office. They are provided both digitally and in person. And as you can see at the chart, emphasis is being given on offering networking opportunities to the alumni community. And alumni community for us includes not only alumni, senior students, friends, donors, and all our supporters. Next slide, please. Here you can see the way the UCY data office approaches and engages all HEIs alumni community. What we do through our activities and the three main actions, which is educate, commit, and support, we try to reach and engage students, the young alumni, which are up to 20 years from graduation, and our older alumni, which number more than 20 years from their graduation, to accordingly activate and participate in our activities, to maintain their relationship with our university, and of course, to secure later on their support after they have established, professionally. Next slide, please. Here you can have a look at our tools, the digital alumni engagement tools and channels of the university, which we have in place. As I could tell that they are all integrated and conjointly used, so that we can, of course, we give some emphasis on the social media. Social media takes the key role, but the social media are integrated with all the other digital and the traditional channels we have for engagement and communication with our alumni community. Next slide, please. With social media for us being a key tool for alumni engagement, we can say that the social media role for us is it embodies the spirit of our community, representing our university brand in an engaging and informative way. So our goal on that aspect is to sustain a proud UCY community which adds value to the society. Next slide, please. Here we can see all the advantages of using social media as key tool for alumni engagement. I'm sure the majority of you are aware of those advantages. We could say that they enable direct and immediate communication and marketing with our alumni community. We can save resources, time, and costs. They provide wide reach for us with no geographical limitations. They provide us a way to build and retain, of course, our brand, our loyalty, and our reputation. Definitely, they facilitate us in UCY crisis management when they come up. They enable us to evaluate all the data we retrieve from these platforms and the trends we observe for decision-making purposes, and to improve services provided, of course. And they allow us to survey our users, meaning our alumni community, to improve, to determine their needs and adjust accordingly. Next slide, please. Here you can see some advantages and some challenges we are called to deal to overcome periodically. As advantages, we can see that we need to have resources committed continuously to manage our social media presence all year round. We have to manage the negativity which is communicated immediately and definitely on a large scale. Of course, it needs more effort to be contained, as it causes high reputational risk for the institution. And challenges that we deal are known also because of our professional use of social media, and they have to do with the legal responsibility deriving from the GDPR of the misuse of social media by the users, but also by the administrators sometimes. Of course, all admin users of social media and managers should keep in mind and be aligned continuously with the university strategy and the position. And of course, they need to be up to date with the laws that govern this social media management. Next slide, please. At this slide, you can see our practices that we have in place on social media management. As you can see, we have definitely a plan in place, which is designed and executed in line with the university's overall marketing strategy. All our social media channels are constantly and continuously communicated in our digital, in-person and mainstream communication. Our posts are designed in advance, aligned with our branding, published timely, and definitely promoted across all our digital channels and community, and monitor definitely in order to assess the goals, achievements that are set from the very beginning. We invest on paid digital marketing and campaigns. On the next slide, you will see some samples. We give emphasis on continuous training of our social media admins and managers, and even senior managers of the university. Definitely we perform evaluation. We evaluate the data of the social media platforms. We conduct surveys, aiming definitely to steadily increase the number of users of those social media platforms, and to grow our community, and definitely to realize our vision as a unit and as a university. So we aim at effectively managing our social media presence. Next slide, please. So here are some key points that all social media managers of the university and administrators have in mind. So usually before moving on posts, they have to set goals. What do they want to achieve with those posts? They make sure that the content of the post is valuable, is creative, attractive, and aims always to engage and drive target audiences to follow the university's work. They have to keep in mind that there is a posting calendar. That posting calendar is followed, I mean, on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. We all have to keep in mind that we should be active listeners and address timely all the users' questions, concerns, complaints, needs, and act immediately and timely. We have to solve problems timely and crises, as we mentioned earlier. All the content and the visuals of the social media platforms of our digital tools, their website pages are always updated. We try to keep them functional, user-friendly, and definitely useful to our users. And definitely we aim at enhancing partnerships all the time with our stakeholders. Next slide, please. So at this slide, you can have a look at samples of marketing campaigns, digital marketing campaigns that are in place or past ones. Next slide, please. And that's the last slide. Here you can see categories of content themes that are related with our social media communications and posts. we have categorized them somehow in order to make it easier on our work. You can see that we have posts characterized by relevance, nostalgic posts, persuasive posts, posts that alumni themselves or other users generate and related with their stories or their experiences, placing themselves in the history of the university, prideful and celebratory posts for rankings, for examples, and others, informative posts, and unifying imagery posts, which is, let's say, the our mascot, Sophia the bee. Sophia, which in English means wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tina, for this very interesting presentation. And now I would like to give the floor to Zala Simčić,